Hi guys, good morning. This is Dan. Welcome to Engelgeist. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning back, welcome back. And for those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much for your support. This is the Sunday reading, which doubles as both the reading for Sunday and also the underpinning energy of the week for the greater collective for the week of November 22nd through the 28th. I cannot believe that November is almost over. This is a broad spectrum reading for a multitude of people, for whoever may watch it at any point in time, so therefore you have to kind of take the reading and apply it where it best fits in your life. If it doesn't make any sense or doesn't resonate, that's completely fine. It doesn't necessarily mean that anything's wrong or things aren't, working in your favor. It just might mean you might be working on something different. If you do decide to apply it to your life and make decisions after having watched this video in your personal life, those decisions are your own responsibility. So please be aware of that. And let's see what's going on. Tallulah, stop, honey. Sorry, my dog's in the background. Making some noise, licking everybody down. She's just like her father. Okay, alright, so let's see what's going on here. Each card is going to represent for a day or two of the week. So some of you may experience only one of these cards, some of you may experience all of them, and then some. It all depends, everybody's got their own sort of path. What do we need to know? Okay, we've got the Five of Wands. I actually kind of like this card. Usually this card is sort of like a competitive kind of energy, but to me this feels sort of playful. Like there's a little bit of joy and a little bit of play happening. Wands being the element of fire and desire, spirit. I like that this cat is also seated on this or standing on this bed of flowers. So there's growth, there's maybe even growth happening in the background because the darkness of the flowers, to me, it almost feels like it's giving me this vibe that even through play we might be learning something, if that makes sense. Some of you might be feeling as though you're being played with or toyed with, and that might be a little bit annoying, but I feel like there's an exuberance here and like a joy. That's not necessarily a traditional Five of Wands meaning, but I would shift into that joy and that playful nature if you can, and utilize this energy to kind of find enjoyment, find play, find opportunity where we don't necessarily always see it, if that makes sense. Vibes are also about change, so allowing changes to roll through in the early part of this week would be really beneficial. Keeping that sort of our spirits high, and positive, focused on the positive, focused on yesterday we saw that Fool card, right, which was that youthful exuberance that I was talking about being open. And so I think this carries over a little bit, at least with the artwork that I'm getting from this. It feels like these aren't necessarily bothering the cat. I feel like the cat's enjoying this activity. So I'm going to go that route only because we had that Fool card yesterday. So in this early part of the week, find joy or excitement in the games, even the games that are slightly annoying. Find the humor in that. That would also be the surrender flag we saw yesterday. What can we let go of instead of attaching to people and their behaviors if they're screwing with us or giving us a hard time? How can we kind of, make it into something that is fun for us, is kind of the vibe that I'm getting from this card. Let's look at the midweek card. Okay, we've got our Chariot back. So again, we've got that element of Cancer. The sign of Cancer is the Chariot card. When I look at this is always about fast-moving energy. This can be about direction being made clear. This can be about being carried in some way, shape, or form. This is also very much a celebration card. So when I look at this, I love the two horses. I love the fiery redness of the roses on their third eyes. To me, this feels like a direction is made clear. We're driven. We're going after our goal. Our goal is made clear. Cancer is very much a sort of nurturing, mothering sign. So this would be a time to nurture ourselves as we move forward. There could be a feeling, as I'm looking at these two cards together in the early part of the week or the mid part of the week, both early and mid, we could feel a little bit maybe like things are not inside of our control, but I don't feel like this is a bad thing, right? I look at both of these cards, and both of these cards give me a sense of being carried in the early part of this week. And what I mean by that is, even though we have these 5 wands over here, like sort of dangling, and the cat wants to get to them, right? And there might be that sort of annoyingness of like, oh Jesus, I just want this. The cat is finding joy and play, and what's the word, like placing its attention where it wants to, in a way that I feel like, and this is not traditional 5 of Wands reading, but I feel like it's engaging the cat in a way that's different, exciting, and fun. And then in the midweek, we have this cat with a more directed attitude, ready to move forward. But the Chariot always has this sort of swiftness with it that can sometimes feel out of control. So when I look at these 5 wands, they're outside of this cat's control also. But we're really making the best of it. We're taking good care of ourselves. We're taking, say, what would be potentially like something that could normally annoy us. We've let that go, and we're playing with the energy. We're playing with the challenge. We're allowing the challenge to kind of engage us in a way that maybe stimulates our brain or our problem-solving skills. We're not necessarily victim to it, is the feeling that I'm getting with this 5 of Wands. When we do that, we then end up sort of inevitably sitting ourselves in this state of, okay, I've solved that issue, I've solved that problem, let's celebrate and move forward. And then there's a sort of a second wind is kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this Chariot card, a purpose, a direction. If we're feeling idle in the first part of the week and feeling like we're being challenged, maybe that's going to drop off by the midweek, especially with this Chariot energy. And let's look at the final card. Okay, so this is the 3 of Swords. 3 of Swords is usually like the heartache card. Swords is the element of air and the mind, right? I kind of feel like, let me see this. It's funny to me, this 5 of Wands cat looks like the similar cat that we have in the 3 of Swords. You know, 3 of Swords is about heartache and about sort of the mental focus around said heartache, about releasing some sort of heartaches of the past. That's how I view the 3 of Swords too. We also have this Siamese cat up in the tree, and that to me also kind of signifies the past, maybe someone, something, a love from the past, that sort of thing. I feel like there's an opportunity to release that. We might feel challenged by some of it in the beginning of the week with this 5 of Wands, where different ideas are crossing us, but don't allow that to weigh you down. By the midweek, we feel bolstered. There could be some emotionality or mood swings, because that is the sign of Cancer in that Chariot card. Be mindful of that. We might feel slightly emotional, but the Chariot is ultimately about, moving forward or moving on, and also about celebration, really, ultimately, right? It is an empowered card, although it's, how do I want to say this? Like, sometimes I think the Chariot's about sort of being carried versus rather being the director of the journey, right? And the quicker we sort of embrace it, the better off we are. When I look at this 3 of Swords, we may have to look at some things from our past, or be releasing some sort of heartache, some sort of sadness, some sort of thoughts that don't necessarily serve us, or that hinder us, or that don't, propel us forward in the way that we would like. I don't necessarily feel like this is I feel like this is a slowdown of that Chariot energy. Like, there's something that we need to catch at the end of the week. I mean, the 3 of Swords to me is an obvious card. It's not like we're gonna miss it, but there's something residual that we need to sort of maybe release, deal with, face. It could be, the holidays will be at the end of the week, correct? We have Thursday is Thanksgiving, maybe we're dealing with family. That could be this 3 of Swords energy. If anybody has volatile family relations or feelings around their family, that could also be some of this being dredged up. It's not a bad thing, though, because I always think of, like, when I view the 3 of Swords, it's about taking the action and the initiative to sort of begin to remove those swords that have been embedded in the heart for so long. It's time to maybe let those go. And I think about that surrender card from yesterday, which is about the same kind of principle of letting go of things that no longer serve us. And so I think that this is ultimately for our own good. Will we be feeling things by the week's end, or looking at thoughts or the past, and maybe not reliving pain, but revisiting old pains or sadnesses? That's a possibility. But we can be empowered to release them. And I feel like, as I'm looking at these cards, these things need to be addressed or looked at and released so that we can move forward and we can continue into this chariot energy that's taking us forward. It's like, I almost get the vibe like we can't take whatever this Three of Swords in our heart, whatever this sadness is, we can't take this with us on this journey anymore. Does that make sense? And ultimately, that's a good thing. That's a sign of growth. That's a sign of evolution, emotional, mental, however you're dealing with it. It's a sign of your own growth and evolution. Like, oh, I no longer need this label. I no longer need this event to sort of hurt me or haunt me, limit my actions for fear of it happening again. Does that make sense? Ooh. So the empath oracle says phases, bitch. We got the full moon, like we got the moon, the sun, we got all the cycles. I'm not sure what's going on with the moon this week. Is there anything weird going on? Just, we have the first quarter moon on Sunday, the 22nd, but that's it. Oh, a full moon on the 30th. So, and I'm not sure what sign the full moon's going to be in, but we do have a full moon coming in on the 30th. Phases is 16, also number 7. 7 is about conscious choices, and I feel like that Three of Swords is definitely a conscious choice by week's end. I also feel a conscious choice in that Five of Wands. Instead of being challenged by the Five of Wands, like I said, shifting our perception and finding new ways of thinking, new ways of dealing, new ways of driving ourselves, makes opportunity for us, makes play of it, makes fodder of it in a way that enables us to sort of get into the driver's seat of the chariot, to continue to ride in that chariot energy past the week's end or into the week's end and beyond. We need to address something either mentally or possibly, old past pain that we want to let go. And I think that's the beauty of the Three of Swords, is it's like that reminder comes up, or that memory comes up, and we're able to kind of address it, face it, and deal with it. When I look at the cycle of this phases card, all of this is about sort of the release and the growth and the evolution of what's happening for us, for our own highest good, right? And we have to trust those more subtler energies. We have the different cycles of the moon. The moon is always our more intuitive shadow self, right? The more subtle voices, or the more sometimes often misunderstood aspects of self. But as we dredge that up, we become a more sort of full person, and we're constantly evolving, similar to how this moon is spinning on its cycle and going through its phases. So to me, when I look at these 3 cards in the cat deck, they feel like just the sort of phases that we have to go through this week to kind of get to where it is that we ultimately want to be. Now let's look at the grounding stone. Okay, the grounding stone is create. So what is it that we want to create this week, guys? And I think that's some of that Five of Wands energy too. There's multiple toys there being dangled in front of that cat. Which one do we choose, right? Don't get caught up in the worry of choosing the wrong one, or making the wrong mistake, or if something doesn't feel possible. Stay in the play and the exuberance of it. Allow that Cancerian chariot energy to carry you towards it. By week's end, allow yourself to release anything that possibly stands in your mind or in your heart that limits you from having it. Allow yourself to make these conscious choices, to release these things and move forward into the next phase, right? Where we're creating something different, something more abundant, something more exciting, something more thrilling for ourselves. We're entitled to it, certainly after the year that we've had, right? And whatever that may be, it can even be small things at first, right? If maybe some of us are in more limited situations where we can't necessarily feel as though we can create so much, we actually are creating in every given moment with whatever thoughts we're working with, however we're using those thoughts and where we're focusing them. So remembering that this week will be key, because I kind of get a feeling like with that Three of Swords at the end, this could be a little bit of a challenging week for us to look at some stuff. Also, the Chariot is a great card, but it's also the sign of Cancer, which is very nurturing, but it can be emotional and moody, right? So you know, and the moons on that phases card speak to this idea. Cancer is associated with the moon too, and so it kind of could affect us a little bit this week, especially with the holidays and then that full moon coming. So be mindful of that and ground in your creation and the positivity of that and the, you know, the energy of like hope, belief, possibility. Dwell in those things this week, and then find the things that either mentally or emotionally maybe limit us in being able to do that. I hope that makes sense. That is your forecast for the week. Thank you for tuning in. We will build on this energy tomorrow. Please hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, and you can hit subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you're interested in a private reading, you can always message me at the Facebook business page, and you know, comments, questions, all of that stuff on the YouTube channel is always greatly appreciated. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I hope that this makes sense and that you guys can utilize it. I really get like this is a transition week is kind of the feeling, especially with those moons spinning there on that card. So transit away. Bye-bye.